Welcome to the Genesis Mindset. So today's episode, a very quick episode because the macro environment is looking extremely positive, extremely bullish. So is this the moment that we've all been waiting for? Is this the moment in the cycle? So Bitcoin broke an all-time high again. Ethereum is really starting to outpace it once we look at the ETH BTC chart. So it really looks like we might be heading to another alt season. Could this be the last one? Nobody knows. I've got an indicator that I wanted to show you as well, which might twist your perspective into where we are in this cycle. And really, this is what we've been preparing for and accumulating for years. So let's really make sure that we're prepared and doing the very basics, because selling is not easy. Buying is easy. Selling is not easy at all, actually. So, all right, let's get into the charts here. So, oh, what happened here? This one here. All right. So obviously, just looking at the total macro. So the S&P 500, the US 500 has been for a couple of weeks now broken all-time high. It's had a little bit of a pullback today. Interesting that it's had a pullback today, and Bitcoin has now smashed its all-time high. So it was sitting within this wedge. It smashed through it. So it got up to, I think, about 118,000. So 118,000 and a half. Still, my targets are based on the 4-year cycles ending here, and based on the approximation of the move, I'm thinking that 180K is where I'm estimating. So I'm looking at this kind of a region. So if we look at previous cycles and the repetition of previous cycles, which I don't necessarily think this will repeat, then once Bitcoin tops, or if it tops in November, then we should see like a very strong alt season in the last 4 to 6 weeks after that. So it should go into December, heading towards the end of the year, the start of the new year. So obviously, one thing that I like to keep an eye on in terms of this sentiment is this is a USDT. So when it's above this line, it's really meaning that we're heading towards a bearish scenario. So this was the previous all-time high, and you could see that it really started to cross this line. And really, I mean, this was basically kind of the bottom. It tried to reverse back, and then it really bottomed out and just basically going into stables all that time. So once we start seeing this really crossover in strength, if we see it heading up to here and crossover in strength, it would be a pretty good indicator that we're starting to head to basically the end of the year. Although because it's a lagging indicator, you're not going to pick the top if you're trading Bitcoin. So in any case, that's Bitcoin. Ethereum also, where's my Ethereum? ETHUSD. So Ethereum broke out of this little resistance levels, same thing. Ethereum's looking very bullish, but then ETH to BTC is continuing to outpace. So this is a really key level for ETH to BTC. So I'll be very interested to see how this one plays out. And once it breaks out of there. Now, this particular indicator here, I don't know what he uses. This is TechDev, altcoin expansion signal. So this is what he uses. This must be some sort of altcoin chart. And this is some sort of, it's a moving average kind of a chart, which seems to track momentum. Well, it seems to really just track price momentum, to be honest. So it looks like the indicator's a price momentum with a moving average on it. So as you can see here, when it's broken out with conviction from the bottom, broken out, then it's really headed to alts. And I mean, realistically, it seems like the 4-year cycles are playing out to a T. We're really heading to the last few months. Things really kind of look like they're getting towards the end of the end of the crypto cycle. I don't really believe that there's going to be a super cycle. I'd love to be proven wrong, but I don't really believe it. I think these are the types of narratives that you're going to start hearing, which is going to get you caught into bag holding. And so this is the reason why I wanted to do this video. This is not necessarily the time for me to sell, but I'm basically putting it out there what I'll be doing and how I'll be planning to do it. So based on this indicator, it's looking pretty good. And based on ETH BTC reversal, things are really starting to look really, really good. And obviously, just looking at the Atropa ecosystem and PulseChain, I mean, yeah, PulseChain, what can you say? It really needs to break out of this little wedge, or this not little wedge, this gigantic wedge that it's been in. But yeah, I don't really have that much PulseChain anyway, so it's a gas token. So it's good that it's low, because there's all this minting and burning that I'm really interested in doing. And the higher the PulseChain is, the worse it is. But I think PulseChain will be the one to rotate into as the cycle starts to end, because that's where the biggest liquidity is going to be as well. So rotating into PulseChain, I think that's going to just pump, and then rotating into stables. That's kind of how I'm thinking about it. Atropa just keeps flying. PDAI keeps flying. What are we on now? So over 0.5 cent. We're heading towards, just over halfway to the 1 cent mark. So things are looking very good. And so the reason why I wanted to just quickly do this kind of a video is, again, going over the ideas behind selling, because buying is easy. Buying is so easy. You just wait for a dip and you buy. But when it comes to selling, it's much heavier in the consciousness to click that button, because your dreams are riding on how much you can profit. So, for example, PDAI going to $1, that's going to be a narrative that's probably going to get people round tripping this particular cycle. And anyone who listens to this channel and really sees that I'm really trying my best to put out sincere and genuine content in the benefit of everybody, so that everybody can profit and everybody can win together, then I hope you recognize that when I say PDAI won't get to $1 this bull market, I'm not saying that as some sort of FUD. Why would I? It's completely retarded to think that I would FUD my own bags. I just don't think that it would be wise to expect it to get to $1, because that's just going to be another narrative that's going to get people round tripping. That's all I want to say on that. And so really the wisest thing to do between now and November would be just to start scaling out. I've looked at different kinds of profit strategies. I've tried a different strategy this cycle with selling three different sell zones, but it's kind of hard. It's really hard still to predict where these tops are. Having said that, I've predicted the tops on the day for PDAI twice, and it all came down to the extent of my euphoria. So that's the indicator that I'm using this particular time. So I'm not feeling euphoric at the moment. Everything's up. It's fantastic, but I don't feel euphoric. And the euphoria doesn't just come from an internal state. The euphoria is also reflected back by the world. So when you go on Twitter and everyone's going skits, when you're reading something on Twitter and it's making you bullish and it's sparking that energy of euphoria in you, the intensity of that is multiplied by the amount of posts, and obviously multiplied by your own internal sensation. So I'm very in tune with that, and I feel like there's a particular resonance of the earth that projects that euphoria as well. So that's my number one indicator for when I'm going to start selling. And had I used it for PDAI, I would have been able to sell the tops. Like literally, you can go back on my videos. Yeah, called the top on the day twice, but didn't sell, didn't do anything. So what's the point, right? What's the point? So it's an indicator. Now maybe third time lucky, but I don't know if I'm going to just rely on that. And I certainly don't think that I would sell out completely when I'm feeling that, because it's still a bit sketchy. So it might be better to kind of start scaling out, because if you really think about these kind of regions as well, so this is just one particular chart. If you think about these kinds of regions in every chart, really, I mean, you look at Bitcoin, it's the same thing with Bitcoin as well. So where's the previous all-time high? So we had the whole Judas candle. You have multiple opportunities to really get out. So you have a big dip. So what was the dip here? So the dip was like what, 50% or something, or even more, or yeah, just about 50%. Here again, 50%, but then it had the Judas candles. So it ended up breaking the all-time high. It was a double top. And so it drops 50%, but you have these little opportunities where you can still sell. So if you don't pick the top and it starts to dump, but you're feeling the euphoria, you're seeing it everywhere, you're hearing Supercycle, you're hearing this is just the beginning, you're hearing we're going to peg to $1 tomorrow, then you really know that these are the things that Euphoria are saying. These are the words of Euphoria. These are the words of delusional Euphoria. So you have multiple opportunities. So even if you don't sell it all on the top, then you can end up selling some here. So I'm kind of spitballing here because I'm still not 100% certain on my sell strategy. I have some clarity on it. I suppose it's something that I need to write out. And the other thing that I really need to do properly this particular cycle, which is another reason why I wanted to stream, was tax. Do not forget your tax. Do not forget your tax. If you only sell a little bit and then it all dumps and you don't sell enough, and the bags that you're caught with, your tax can really just destroy your entire portfolio. It's really, I've heard stories of tax destroying entire portfolios. It almost wrecked my HEX portfolio. If I wasn't saved by external circumstances, I would have had some left, but I would have lost a huge amount of HEX, which I would not have been happy about. So yeah, I think I'm just going to keep it short and sweet just to really start thinking about and planning for selling, because obviously the show is not going to go on forever, and you're going to be led to believe that it's going to go on forever. Everybody's going to tell you that it's going to go on forever, and this cycle is different, but it really doesn't look like it's any different. There's different characteristics of it in terms of the way that the alt season is operated, but for the most part, it's really going exactly the same. So I personally plan on starting to scale out in in August, and then onwards. And then if Bitcoin's continuing to go, all I'll do is just keep monitoring whatever Bitcoin is doing. If Bitcoin is still going, then I won't scale out completely. But I definitely want to scale out some in August, because I feel like there's going to be a big pullback in August in the Atropa ecosystem. But then really, who knows actually? Because if you look at this, if you look at these time cycles, the time cycle chart, which is, I mean, it's pretty goddamn accurate. It's pretty goddamn accurate. This could be a perfect, let's get rid of this rocket. This could be, you can see here, I mean, I've shown this a lot of times, up, down, up, down, up, down. Now we're up. Is it going to go down? I don't think so. But this is the fireworks of the bull market, this period here. So seeing what it does as it leads into October. So yeah, I'll be keeping a close eye, put it that way. But I do feel like it's due for maybe a little correction. But who knows, man? Who really knows? We could end up getting something like this, where we get what happened there? Where we get a nice little. Probably not like this, but yeah, who knows, man? Who really knows? It's really a big resistance level here. Maybe we get a pullback here and we end up seeing something maybe like this instead for this next phase of the market. Maybe we see something more like this. Maybe just a tiny little pullback and then a rocket. And look at that. I mean, then you're going to get your Atropa to $2 kind of region. Kind of makes a lot of sense to me that if this is really the encore, not the encore, what's the fireworks, when there's like the end of the fireworks, there's all the big fireworks. This is kind of the area that it is. So in the way that this is tracked, it makes sense that for the first time, it's having two bullish momentums. So bull, bear, bull, bear, bull, bear, bull, bull for the end. It makes sense. And possibly even because if Bitcoin does end up topping out in November, then possibly even a third one. So possibly even, I could definitely see that kind of a scenario, as a matter of fact. So we've had these instances of like wild fear in the market where capitulation, sells, and it's come out of the channel. But what about the opposite side of the market where it just goes absolutely bonkers? So I could see that happening as well. So this is the thing where nothing is easy, nothing is certain, but I could most certainly see like a epic bull, and everyone's and this is what's going to capture everyone thinking, oh, it's going to go forever, it's going to get to $100 when it gets to 50 or something, and then bang, then it comes right back down all the way down here or something like this. I could really see something like that happening. So who really knows how this plays out? But they're just the things that I like to talk about, because even as I talk about them, I get different little ideas as I'm describing these things. So yeah, really just want to urge people to really start planning and writing down. Don't think that, how actually reflect. If I that's what I do. If I reflect, how have I been every time there's been a sell? I have been in a state of probably greed, not the type of greed that I had in the hex days with the hex all-time high, but still there's been an element of greed that makes me want to continue to hold and just let it go, because I wanted to take profit at the end of the bull market. So that was part of the plan, actually. So there was an element of greed, but there was also sticking to the plan. And no, I'm going to stick to the plan, even though I feel like this is going to be a drop. But I really should still be able to, I've adjusted the plan now to basically, when that happens, when I feel like that and I still want to take out at the end of the bull market, I still think it's wise to take out some along the way, because when you get these big dips, you can accumulate way more. It just makes so much more sense. Yeah, okay, maybe it runs away. Maybe it runs away and it goes on, and you've sold something that is down here and it just keeps going. Fine. But you've still taken some profit. So yeah, that's something that I probably need to really make it. I do have clarity in my mind, but actually writing it down is, I think, the key. So when the moment comes, it just becomes a robotic process of like, boop, boop, boop. It's if X, then Y, and that's it. So yeah, I'm just going to quickly go over the chat, see if there's any questions. What's going on? So October 2025 alt season. Yeah, Smokey on PulseChain. Potentially, man. Yeah, potentially October. That makes a lot of sense based on the charts as well. But just looking at the interesting thing is, within the Atropa ecosystem and the PDAI ecosystem, we have had so many good pumps that we've had our own internalized quote unquote alt season. So we've had these bullish phases and these bearish phases. And I absolutely love that. We've been independent of the rest of the market in a sense. But also when the rest of the market is positive, then we are also extremely positive on PulseChain and the Atropa ecosystem and PDAI. So, really, PDAI is kind of running up with Bitcoin, which is amazing to see. So particularly in these last month or so. What's going on, Shawnee? So in other words, to conclude that, Smokey, basically, see, there you go. If alt season is truly in October, then it really makes it very plausible that we get like a three pump basically instead of a two pump. Yeah, let's see how it goes. What's going on, Matt and Barley and Shawnee? What's going on, bro? No need to sell any of the RH tokens with their lending protocols. Borrow conservatively if the goal is to hold forever. That is a very good point. And that's another thing. Thank you for triggering my mind. That's also what I wanted to say. Liquidity providing. Oh, boy. Like, I also, if you're in this for the long game and you're in, like, have a look at my videos on the liquidity providing. They don't get much views, but it really shows very clearly the different kinds of liquidity pools, the pros and cons of the different kind of liquidity pools. Talks about impermanent loss. It talks about Hart's law and arbitrage. I just launched that one today. And it's really making it very clear on how you could create yourself a strategy for providing liquidity. If you're in this for the long game, create yourself a strategy where selling gets you the most amount of tokens, really, because selling is when there's huge amounts of volatility. So, if you have a look at this, well, maybe this is a bit different, but, well, actually, this is making a liar out of me. But obviously, there's huge volatility here, and it's just Well, actually, I mean, yeah, it kind of is. If you have a look at this, so if you have a look at this period here from August to December, the volume is quite modest. Then it scales up, then it drops down, and look at all that volume because there's a lot of buyers and sellers and buyers accumulating into the sells, and the volume obviously has really picked up in general for Atropa. But yeah, selling even here as well. You look at the selling volume coming down, but then here the buying volume. So, but whether it's selling or buying, you're accumulating plus tokens. So if you're in the Atropa PDAI pool, for example, the liquidity in there is pretty huge. So you're not really going to get much of a. Unfortunately, you're probably not going to get much of a percentage of the yield, but it's still a gigantic liquidity pool with kind of it really looks like it's magnetizing back down to this 750. So it just keeps getting sold down and down and down and down into, I mean, yeah, here we go. Here's another. I wonder if this will just trend down here perfectly and around about this kind of time where we finish the bull market. So that kind of coincides too, which is quite interesting. So, but yeah, liquidity providing is most definitely something to keep an eye on. So what's going on, UFO to go? Greetings from Dyland. What's going on, BP? Dominic. Now it is definitely the time we can enjoy the previous investment, but reset will come again when everyone is saying it is time to invest. Thank you, Dominic. Dominic is a very wise man. So thank you for that comment, Dominic. I completely agree because that's exactly, I mean, that's something that I've been sharing in this. So yeah, this is exactly when it's going to be the euphoria talking that it's going to go on forever, but there's always going to be a reset. There's always going to be someone selling and there's always going to be drops no matter what. It's just nature's flow. So I reckon the peak will be delayed a bit and it will be around late this year or early next year. This is interesting, Dominic. Yeah, because of the whole sentiment around it and the way that, particularly the way that now the traditional financial system has really impregnated itself into Bitcoin. So there is the likelihood that it can be a slightly extended cycle, but I'm with you. I think it will only go on maybe extended for another month or two. I don't think it's going to be like a super cycle. It's going to go on for another year or two. I think those are the things where, yeah, it's people are going to get caught out. So finale, that's the word. That's the word. Thank you, sir. Viper Styles, Climax. What's going on? Viper Styles, is that there's a Viper? Maybe that's a different Viper. But what's going on, Viper Styles? I don't think I've ever seen you in here. PulseChain. Kent, the Atropa ecosystem is doing amazing on PulseChain. So there's lots of things that are doing amazing on PulseChain. If this is the problem, if everybody just looks at the core coins, then PulseChain looks pretty bleak. But if you look at the life that's on the chain, there's a lot. So hey, good morning, Steve-O. Ratio of PDAI to Atropa, is one looking like a better buy to rebalance in your mind? I mean, when did you ask this question, Steve-O? So I guess, I don't know if you asked this as I brought this chart up, but it looks to me like, I mean, this is Maria's Amsterdam prediction, or maybe it was in the chat logs. I don't recall where I saw it, but basically when and if PDAI gets to $1, then Atropa should be 750. So then based on that, well, I mean, yeah, based on that, really, the ratio is just going to continue to come down this way. So selling Atropa into PDAI seems like the logical move, because it seems like it's definitely trending down and gravitating towards this region. So yeah, that's my non-financial advice, selling Atropa for PDAI. But then once PDAI gets to $1, then that's where this, and if it pegs and stays there, that's when this ratio gets really, really interesting. So that's where I'd start to look at rotating again. Not yet, good sir. UFO to go, not yet. So today's my third day. Today I'm actually wrecked. I did a infrared sauna this morning because I'm doing a full body and mind cleanse. Infrared sauna, then I had a remedial massage because my lower back is cooked and my, what are they called? The hamstrings are cooked, and I'm just feeling wrecked. I think a lot of toxins got released. So, because I also had niacin. So, niacin is like a little chemical that Scientologists will have. So, they'll have that and they'll go to an infrared sauna and it cleans out your toxins. So, the infrared sauna is detoxing you. But then, if you have niacin, it opens up particular glands that really detox you even further. So, today was like, very like shattered, to be honest. So, Deluki, I most certainly will. I most certainly will be holding PDAI to $1, but I am going to be I'm going to be trading it on the way up. Absolutely, I'm going to be trading it on the way up. I believe, I got into it relatively late, I suppose, compared to some people who bought like super early, like Moon King. So I have to accumulate more. So I have to sell local tops and then reaccumulate and buy local bottoms to multiply my bag size. So yes, I most likely will be. So, but I will be holding it to $1, and once it gets to $1, I'm in. I'm locked in. That's my goal. Like, if I believed it was getting to $1 this cycle, then I wouldn't be selling it. But I don't believe it's getting to $1 this cycle. That's just my opinion. What do you make of Richard's Lamborghini post a few days ago? The one with the 7 and the 369. I don't make much of it, to be honest. I don't know, man. To be honest, I just take Richard's posts at face value for the most part. And then, there's all these conspiracies around these posts. I never really, the way that people have been presenting those ideas to me about his posts, I never even considered those things. So I'm like, I just kind of read it at face value. So, okay, I must have seen you here. So there's a big influencer called Viper XXX or something like this, and yeah, I know he's not down with this ecosystem, but I'm pretty sure I've seen your name around. My apologies, man. So what's going on? I click buttons. Based on that, PDAI is better to buy, right? Yeah, correct. So basically, it's Atropa first. So it's Atropa priced in DAI. So whatever the first token is, it's token A priced in token B. So for example, here it's token A, Bitcoin, priced in US dollar. That's super easy. So whenever it's high, then you want to sell your Bitcoin. Same principle. Whenever Atropa is high, you want to sell it into DAI. Whenever it's low, so like, down here, for example, then it's like, Atropa is really cheap compared to DAI. I'm going to start buying some DAI. Some Atropa with my DAI. So yeah, it's the first token priced in the second token. It's such a simple thing, but it's like a bit of a mind boggle every single time because there's all these different tokens and it's it's a bit confusing, I have to say. What's going on, Marcus? Haven't seen you for a while, my man. You've got to join me for Finnish style wood-fired sauna and cold plunge at the sanctuary in the States one day soon. Steve-O, most definitely. I definitely. So the way that I anticipate an American trip is once we get this non-for-profit off the ground. It's probably going to have to be before then, to be honest. But I would definitely love to, because obviously one of my big goals in this personal cleanse as well is to see what works for myself. And eventually I talk about meditation centers, but I also like the idea of a well-being center. So a place where you can go where it's like a mall, but it has all different kinds of everything that you need for your mind and your body. So everything from spas, saunas, float tanks, colonics, meditation, homeopathy, naturopathy, just everything that you would ever need, but not like a mall, more like the way that I envision it in my mind is more like a village, and the building is like full of natural light. The ground is like even earthing on the ground. So it's kind of like you're in a park with all these market stalls, but it's inside of a building, and the building is epic and beautiful, and the building itself resonates a particular frequency which enhances your well-being, and everything about it is designed to maximize and enhance your well-being. So I want to try as many different things as possible, because that's something that I'm really contemplating doing in the future. Yeah, but the 7 and the 369 wasn't the kicker. What was the kicker, Matt? What was the kicker? I don't really follow that stuff too much, I have to say. Especially now, especially with all these letdowns with the PDAI, I'm just like, you know what? Yeah, I don't want to get my hopes up, you know? I want to set up a non-profit, bro. I'd love to travel around the world and train the hexagons in MMA and play the handpan for meditations. Hey, Hex Down Under, what city are you in, bro? Get involved with the NFP that we're doing now first. So we're doing decentralized education and like DeFi education and adoption, protection and adoption. So we want to go around cities. And the reason why I'm suggesting for you to get involved in that, if you're a hexagon and you're passionate about DeFi, which I would imagine that you are, then it'll be a good way for you to see, if you've never had any experience in it, you can just put a little bit of energy. Hey, you're in Perth. There's going to be a meetup in Perth. Jimmy flew to Perth tonight. He's in Perth tonight. He just got there today. So I'm imagining there's going to be a meetup in probably tomorrow at some stage. So I would strongly recommend just going to go meet him, go chat, just get involved. Like, it's not like, oh, I have to be a full-time person. Whenever it comes to Perth, you can just rock up. Or if you have some skills that you want to contribute, then you can do that. But the most important thing is learning. You're being in that environment, so you know, okay, this is what it's going to require, this is how to build it, this is how to grow it, this is how to travel around the world, because that's our intention as well. We're traveling around Australia, but with the intention to go global as well. So I've never play the handpan for meditations. Oh man, okay, all right. I think I know what that is. I've never experienced that type of meditation, I have to say. Wellness Center and Forest Spies, my sanctuary build. Incoming, the elemental connection of wood and real fire in the sauna just hits different. You're so right, Steve. Natural materials have a particular resonance. So everything has a resonance. Everything is just vibration and frequency. So a plastic has a different resonance to wood or stone, and there's just something about it that feels different. Well, that feeling of differentness is the resonance of the material itself, and there's nostalgic qualities to it. There's a mental thing to it, because everything is just energy and light, which is body and mind. So there is a bodily component which gives it a feeling, but there's also a mind component which is like deep rooted in our ancestry of the comfort of being around a fire or in a cave, safe from danger, for example. Who do you know who can help set up a non-profit? I want to enter into the mental health space. Man, we should definitely continue to communicate. If you're not in the Telegram group, definitely go in that Telegram group. But that's something that I'll be setting up a charity for meditation centers in the future. And yeah, I guess I don't know who. I mean, it's not that hard to set it up, actually. You can just go to it sounds kind of tacky, but you can just go to ChatGPT, ask it for some instructions, and I was able to start the process of setting up a non-for-profit. But then I stopped once I came across Jimmy, and I thought we'll put our energy together. But it's actually very simple to start a non-for-profit. The difficult part is getting charity status, or not charity status, rather, where you get tax deductible or gift. The word is DGR, so deductible gift recipient. So in other words, if somebody donates to your not-for-profit, then that's tax deductible, so they can claim that on tax. That's the ultimate goal of, I suppose, any non-for-profit, but it's not easy getting that. You have to, that's the hard part, but setting up the non-for-profit is actually quite easy. It can take up to just a few hours, and then waiting for the approval. It's not too difficult. So I made a post on PDAI versus WBTC the other day when I said I thought PDAI was a better buy because of the ratio proportionate to WBTC, but I'd love your thoughts. I'll get into that, Steve. And good morning, Crypto Stylist. Let's get into that, Steve. So let me have a look, because I do have, I'm quite sure I've got that here. Here we go. I mean, do you know the way that I'm just looking at this is I'm looking at this like it's going to track Bitcoin price. That's how I'm looking at it. So the ratio is going to be proportional. The ratio of wrapped Bitcoin to PDAI is going to be the ratio of Bitcoin to USD. That's how I look at it. So I mean, yeah, it's kind of tough, but it's really been following decently this trend, and it just seems to continue to gravitate towards this trend. And the ratio, to be honest, like these types of ratios, I find difficult where you're getting. It's well, I guess it kind of depends how you look at it, right? So if you look at it like this, then you can see, well, there is this kind of sideways. That's the best kind of ratios where it's just going sideways. But because wrapped Bitcoin is the better Bitcoin and PDAI is a dollar stable coin, then it's very difficult to look at it in terms of a range. So I don't really know with this one, to be honest with you, Steve. I don't know. I think the trend is very good though. And I guess based on the trend, it could be something where you'd swap your PDAI for wrapped Bitcoin, but it's really hard to say. I just think it's going to magically somehow follow the price of Bitcoin, magically somehow. So it'll end this cycle where Bitcoin, like it'll just start to be priced with it because it'll spark imagination. That's what I think anyway. So in the comments, brother, in the comments. In the comments is I didn't see the comments, man. I just look at the schizo stuff and I'm just like, man, I've got enough schizo stuff in my own brain. I don't need to like I'm almost like I'm almost burnt out from all the PDAI stuff. I just want to see results, and I want to just continue to present the things that I see with the Atropa ecosystem, which is much more interesting to me. What happens now with Atropa? I mean, I can't understand why people aren't super excited by the concept of the V3 minters with burning PDAI and minting a token and then creating a yield-bearing asset. It's such an insanely good idea, and there's like I don't see the downside. There is no downside that I can see, and it just doesn't seem to be getting adopted. People prefer to buy and hold rather than interact with and build on the blockchain, I suppose you could say. So that's not to say that we don't have builders, but zone when moon. We're heading into moon, so we're going to be building geodesic earthen domes as accommodations and facilitate sauna, breathwork, sound, resonance healing, forest bathing, somatics, and more. You'll be our guest of honor. Steve, I love it, man. I'm there. When it's all done, I'm there. What is your current view on PDAI, and did you find the answer to where that liquidity will come from to maintain the peg, as well as how much dollar equivalent is needed given the set supply after ESM? Warfield, my view is the same. My view is exactly the same. I don't know the specific numbers that are going to be needed, but if you look, I guess once I keep doing these DeFi in 5 liquidity pools, it's going to make a lot more sense to people about what I'm actually talking about, because it still is not making sense to people. And it's kind of blowing me away a little bit, to be honest, because I'm trying to explain it in so many different ways, but it doesn't seem to be sinking in. But it looks like you can at least understand it. But the fact that I can't give you numbers also means that I don't fully understand it. I only know it as a principle of how the liquidity works and how it flows and how the arbitrage bots work. And just an overnight peg it's not sustainable. An overnight peg could happen. I'm not debating that. That could happen. That's fine. But then a huge amount of liquidity then needs to come into the system to protect that peg. It needs to come in to protect that peg, because at the moment, let's say on PulseChain, just for argument's sake, let's make it super simple. Actually, let's do a math example. Okay, so the PDAI price is 0.5 cent. So let me do like a super. Can you see my calculator here? Let me see. No, you can't see my calculator. But I'll enter some numbers here. So let's just say, for argument's sake, there's $10 million on PulseChain right now. Or let's, yeah, just 10 million, just for argument's sake. And that's with PDAI at 0.5 cent. So then for PDAI to then do 200x to get to $1, so then you multiply the 10 billion by 200. So that's 2 billion. So then if it does that, then there'll be 2 billion in liquidity. So let's say that 10 million is in liquidity right now. So then that goes up to there. Then it would be 2 billion in liquidity. And of course, it's not going to be that simple, because that 10 million that might be in liquidity now is spread across all of PulseChain. But when PDAI goes up, then all the liquidity pools that it's connected to. So then you have a look at this example. It's just going to be like a massive nuke, and people just don't realize what Hart's law is. So if PDAI goes to $1 overnight, bang, this goes like this. The chart just goes absolutely skits. And so what happens there? So what happens there is wrapped Bitcoin against PDAI becomes extraordinarily cheap. And then so what happens there? Well, wrapped Bitcoin still on, let me get some little circles here. So wrapped Bitcoin, and I'll use these circles to describe what I mean. So then let's just say these are I'll make wrapped Bitcoin, I'll make it purple. It's the people's purple. So we got some. Okay, so this is wrapped Bitcoin. And now all of a sudden, PDAI, bang, the price of PDAI goes like this, right? But still, wrapped Bitcoin now becomes extraordinarily cheap because of the ratios. So wrapped Bitcoin gets extraordinarily cheap. But in the other liquidity pools, which are nice and balanced, so you've got wrapped Bitcoin with, I don't know, whatever other ones you have. Wrapped Bitcoin with Atropa. So we'll just do a bunch of different colors. I'll just do one. I'm not going to do this 100 times. Well, yeah, I'll just do it one more time to just show you. Multiply this by however many liquidity pools that wrapped Bitcoin are connected to. Now, all of a sudden, this is super cheap. This is super cheap in this liquidity pool. So what's going to happen? An arbitrage bot is going to come along, buy from there, and then they're going to sell into this liquidity pool. They're going to sell the wrapped Bitcoin into this liquidity pool, and then it's going to slightly pump this. It's going to slightly dump this, and then it's going to slightly pump this. So basically, the liquidity from here, without anybody even selling PDAI, without even a single person selling PDAI, this is all just bots now, is going to do this multiplied by, I don't know how many tens of thousands of liquidity pools that PDAI would be connected to. And it's not just what PDAI is connected to, because PDAI is connected to, let's say, 1,000 liquidity pools. But then all the liquidity, so then one of those liquidity pools is wrapped Bitcoin. So then wrapped Bitcoin has how many liquidity pools? 100, let's say. And then it's connected to the Atropa ecosystem. How many liquidity pools is Atropa connected to? Hundreds of liquidity pools, up to 1,000 liquidity pools. So there's just like tens of thousands of liquidity pools that this liquidity is just going to flow around. So then all these people that hated PDAI, all of a sudden they become wealthy overnight because of all this rebalancing. All their liquidity pools fill up. Like we don't know who these people are and whether or not they're going to sell. Yeah, okay, the PDAI, the believers are going to hold to $1, but what about everybody else? What about the tens of thousands of other tokens on the blockchain that are going to get pumped by this? That's the part that people don't understand. Then, not only that, so there was 10 million in here from the start. Let's just, as we said, so 10 million, and then we do a 200x, and then a 200x, and then so we end up having 2 billion in dollar value liquidity. Now, the way that people are debating me about this is, oh, well, the 2 billion, you're looking at the dollar value. If everybody stays within the blockchain, every single person without exception, every single person, it has to be every single person because our real liquidity is so thin. Like it pretty much has to be every single person almost. If every single person stays in the chain and only just rotates between different assets on the blockchain, then yes, the peg can stabilize. Absolutely, the peg will stabilize only if this happens. But as soon as you get someone who goes, I'm going to sell 50 million PDAI, like it's just going to wreck the chart because actually this 2 billion is just artificial. It's an artificial number. It's not a real number. It only went up by just minting tokens and artificially inflating the value. It's like a synthetic pump. It's not a real pump. So I hope that is clear. The other aspect of this where, again, it can work is now there's 2 billion here, but then you start getting liquidity providers just coming in en masse to start backing the system with liquidity. But the reason why that is not a realistic scenario to me is because of the volatility that's going to exist between all these liquidity pools. The minute somebody comes in and puts in $100 million, it's just going to get sucked into all the other liquidity pools. And then also you're basically giving 100 million liquidity that the people who didn't have the opportunity to quickly sell straight away to get their millions out and bridge out, those people now we've got some liquidity in the system, 100 million, then there's going to be a new wave of sellers coming in. And just this thing that's volatile is just, it's energetically absurd. It's an obscenity. It's an abomination. It's disgusting as an existence. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And I hate to say it. I hate to be the guy that debates against this because I get so much hate for it and people are calling me a pleb and you got it wrong. And like, but it's not going to happen, man. It's just, it's illogical from a liquidity perspective. And this is a liquidity blockchain. So yeah, again, I don't know the exact numbers, man, but why would this scenario happen with this volatility when you can just do it nice and steady over time? And when I say nice and steady over time, it doesn't mean like this. It doesn't necessarily mean like this. If I go to the PDAI chart, let me tell you what I mean by nice and steady. Actually, I can just invert this, right? Invert the pair, and can I price it in USD? Nice. All right. So now we've got PDAI. So when I say nice and steady, people make the mistake, I think, because I've said years, and then people freak out. And it's like, if you really believe in PDAI and you really believe in holding, and you're going to wait for that dollar, why does it need to happen tomorrow? You believe, right? So what does it matter? Whether it's 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, why does it matter? I've never understood that. But anyway, I'm getting way too antagonistic now. But when I say years, I don't mean like, I think people will assume that I mean like this, and it's going to take like 20 years to get there. Well, that's actually way less than 20 years, but actually, yeah, that has to be a little bit more schizo than that, right? So I think people think that I mean, 2030, here we go, 2030. The Great Reset, hashtag Great Reset, PDAI to $1. Maybe that's what it is. Whatever, right? People think I mean this. I don't necessarily mean that. The way that I visualize it going almost, I visualize it having this skit pump, blowing up everywhere all over crypto. Look at this asset then coming all the way down. But then, oh, wow, look at this PDAI thing. And then now we peg to $1, wherever the dollar is here. That's what I see in my mind. This is radically more bullish for onboarding. The amount of people that it sparks up the imagination in. If you peg to $1 here, then, well, I've got nothing. I've got no opportunity there. I can't get my dollar there. But if you almost get to $1 and it explodes over Twitter, over social media, over YouTube, then it sparks up imagination. Ivan on Tech is not coming in and buying anybody's PDAI at $1. He's buying the PDAI when it's down here, when he's seen what it can do. So it's just logically and psychologically more bullish for it to do this scenario as well. But again, it gets me so much hate. It's really frustrating. Damn, I'm going so long. It's 11:30. I'm going skits now. All right. Totally get you. It's been a hard road this cycle, and we have coped max FUD, but we're still here. Everything is lining up. You're right, Clayton. Robert, you give no reason why to do the liquidity stuff. Your video on no impermanent loss and permanent gain gave no reason why I should do that. I actually confirmed not to do it because I would lose. That's a really interesting comment. You give no reason why to do the liquidity stuff. Your video on no impermanent loss and permanent gain gave no reason why I should do that. Well, that blows me away. Obviously, maybe it's something that you need to watch a few times, Robert, because that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. You're basically getting yield. So if you find a liquidity pool with plus on both sides, you're not just holding a token, you're getting yield on that token, which is going up in value. So I would probably recommend watching the liquidity pool type 3. But also, it's not my job to convince you. If you're not convinced, then that's completely up to you. It's not for everybody. If you want to just hold and sell tops, then that's totally your prerogative. So yeah, I'm not doing it to convince anyone. Anyone can do what they want. But I'm surprised that you say that your video on no impermanent loss and permanent gain gave no reason why I should do that. I guess it comes with the nuance of understanding it in more depth. And then when you look at the liquidity pool type 1, type 2, type 3, maybe then it will start to make more sense. It's supposed to be something that's delivered in small parts, so then people can digest it in smaller parts. So yeah. But yeah, if liquidity providing is not for you, then yeah, just don't do it, man. Easy. That doesn't take into account a pegging protocol like make it to burn and print to stabilize, does it? So in a way, correct. So, boy, I hate getting down this avenue with the PDAI stuff because it just... Yeah, I mean, look, there might be a MakerDAO protocol and like it might, but it's not to say that it won't happen with MakerDAO and like it doesn't matter what the code says. If the code says that it's $1, if there's no liquidity in the system to take out, then it can just be $1 with nothing in there. I can make a liquidity pool right now and call it PDAI 3 and then make it $3 just in the way that I create the tokens and the way that I bond it with another token and make it $3. But nobody can sell anything from that liquidity pool because there's actually no liquidity in there. It's the same principle, but scaled up. Because I just in my mind, it just makes sense that the numbers don't at the moment add up to the requirements for it. That's just in my mind. I could be completely wrong, and I'm a winner if I'm wrong anyway, because if it pegs tomorrow, then I'm not going to complain about that. So this requires a Maker-like protocol to manipulate supply, which is rumored, but EDAI doesn't maintain its peg though through liquidity. It does through the protocol. Correct, but EDAI became depegged when Ethereum tanked, because the value in the liquidity pools goes down, from the best of my knowledge. So I understand what you're saying, but like you can do it, but there's not going to be any liquidity there to trade. So yeah, correct. I guess it could, but I don't actually know if like how. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like EDAI depegged and it's supposed to be pegged to $1, but this is not supposed to be a PDAI episode. I was only supposed to do a half an hour and it's an hour already. So, but would that not be a fantastic PR campaign? No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. I can't understand why people are not seeing this logic. Like the logic that I'm describing here with the wrapped Bitcoin. Damn it. Oh, hang on. I'll go back to the wrapped Bitcoin. Like, oh no, I'm here. So if there's no liquidity, in order to get liquidity requires liquidity providers. If it's so fragile and so volatile that the second any liquidity comes in, it's just going to get dumped out, why the fuck would I want to come and provide liquidity for that when somebody's just going to steal all my tokens? Why the fuck would I do that? A rich person is not going to be that stupid. That's why it's so... The PR campaign is the almost peg. That's the ultimate PR campaign. It's so much better than just pegging straight away. It's so much better. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just my opinion. I mean, I've asked AI, I've fed it all the information, as much information as possible, and I've asked it to tell me, and it tells me, it confirms exactly what I'm saying. It would be the ultimate scenario for it to be this. And I'm not surprised. It just makes intuitive sense for this to be the case, because you're getting the benefit of PR. You're getting the benefit of PR without the extremely volatile risk of it being destroyed. All right, so USDT isn't backed one-to-one with fiat. Let's do it with PDAI. I think the theory is that no one is selling at that point. It's peak bubble time until liquidity rushes in. That is the theory, Steve, but what world are we living in where we think that everybody's going to be holding? It's also basic human psychology. It doesn't matter how many believers we have in the PDAI chat who say they're believers. It doesn't matter. There's still going to be X percentage of people that are going to sell. It's a fact of markets. It's a fact of life. All markets are exactly the same. There's going to be buyers, there's going to be sellers, there's going to be traders, there's going to be believers, there's going to be non-believers. It would be, if we could quantify that and say, right, we've got 99.999% believers who are never going to sell, and we have that as a fact, then I'd consider like alternating my perspective. But collectively, humans are just properties of energy. So there's all the same characteristics in every kind of group. So this is not to criticize it. It was because I wanted to do it. What I'm saying, I was excited about doing it, but after watching your videos, I couldn't see the benefits. If you would okay, all right. Okay, let's do this. Let's go to Atropa DAI. And what's your liquidity on Atropa DAI? So yeah, I mean, Atropa DAI is not actually a really good one, to be honest. But it's the same principle. Let's go MX DAI and DAI actually. But I'll still show it with this one. I'll show two examples. MX DAI and DAI. So I'll show this example. So within this region, especially within this region, where's my box? Okay, especially within this region where it's fluctuating from 6 to 9, let's say. 69. So now, if you just held Atropa, or if you just held PDAI, then you're getting the appreciating asset. But if you split your Atropa in half and you buy, okay, let's put some real numbers here. So let's say, let's do 15 and 2. 15 and 2. So, actually, it will be the other way around. So we've got 2 Atropa and 15 PDAI. So 2 Atropa and 15 PDAI. That's what you're holding. You're like, you know what? I'm just going to hold those tokens and they're going to go up in value. But then you find a liquidity pool like this where the ratio is basically going sideways. You put that 2 and that 15 in liquidity. As people are selling their Atropa for PDAI, and as people are buying Atropa with PDAI, by the end, you might have 15.2 and 2.2 tokens. So you still have you still have the tokens which have gone up in value independently of this ratio, and you have yield on top. So that's the golden child of liquidity pools. They're rare to find, but then this is why I'm looking at things like this, the MXDAI and PDAI. It's the same principle, but now we have the mint to claim function. Look how tight this ratio is. There's not much liquidity in here. There's not much volume. So that's opportunity. The volume, you would really want that to be higher. But basically, instead of just holding your PDAI and the PDAI goes to $1, the whole time you basically split your PDAI in half with MXDAI, which is interchangeable one-to-one, by the contract, by the code. Also, realistically, by the ratio now, because it's so tight, that by the time it gets to $1, you've made more tokens on top because you're getting yield from the trading that's going on within your liquidity pool. So that's permanent gains. Also, if you watch, I think I did it on the calculator video. So I would just recommend watching, not just going to the impermanent loss, impermanent gains, and because you're missing pieces of the puzzle. So watch more of the pieces of the puzzle. Maybe I need to do at the end of the series like a 15 to 20 minute episode on like putting all the pieces together and how it benefits, because I don't see how it doesn't benefit if you get the right liquidity pools. And again, even if you get a liquidity pool like what we were showing before, what was it? Wrapped Bitcoin and DAI. So now if we price it in Wrapped Bitcoin and DAI. So this is a liquidity pool where it's like, well, if I started a liquidity pool up here with my PDAI and now it's going all the way down, I'm getting less and less PDAI, but more and more Wrapped Bitcoin in my liquidity pool. But my PDAI is actually the thing that's worth more. So this is the type of liquidity pool where at face value, it doesn't necessarily look good. But if there's enough volume that flows through the liquidity pool, I'll put the numbers here. What am I doing? It's almost midnight. I was so wrecked and I was like, I need to go to sleep early tonight. I need to just do a half an hour episode. Maybe the live streams sometimes don't work well. Anyway, tomorrow's food day. So I'm going to swap the ratio again because it's annoying with all those zeros. Let's go invert the pair. And sorry if my my energy sounds a bit schizo and antagonistic. I think it's just a lot of energy right now. All of a sudden, whilst I'm doing this, get rid of all this shit. Okay, so now, for example, if I started a liquidity pool up here. Okay, so what was this ratio? Just let's say it was 1.3. I'll just do 1.3. Okay, so 1.3. So basically, I would have, let's say I had one wrapped Bitcoin, and then I would have to, and then I had 1.3333 PDAI. So that's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Ah, you son of a gun. Oh, because it's a straight line. Okay, whatever. So anyway, it's kind of around about here, right? So then if you put that in a liquidity pool and the price has been going down like this, what's going to happen is, because wrapped Bitcoin is getting cheaper and cheaper, you're going to end up with more wrapped Bitcoin and less PDAI. But PDAI is actually the token that's worth more because obviously the ratio is going in that direction. So that's why when you look at if you can get a ratio where it's going sideways, they're the ultimate ratio. But the nuance with this that I was trying to describe, which maybe I didn't describe well, is yes, you might have less wrapped Bitcoin, but if you get enough volume that flows through it, you might end up being able to sell that 0.1 wrapped Bitcoin, 0.1 wrapped Bitcoin back into PDAI even though it's got less in the pool, you'll sell back into PDAI, and you might end up finding, hey, I've actually got more PDAI for the amount of volume of the wrapped Bitcoin that was flowing through, and that's now worth. So now, in actuality, then, if I show that, that means I've now got one wrapped Bitcoin, and because I sold my 0.1 wrapped Bitcoin, and I've actually got more PDAI than if I just held. I hope that makes sense. And honestly, Rob, the only way that it's going to make sense is if you just try. If you just try. So those videos are, I would recommend just watching it from start to finish. And I appreciate you asking the questions, because now it's like, okay, there's a flaw in the explanation. There's a flaw in the delivery. It needs to get elaborated on, perhaps. Maybe I'll do this. I'll show some examples, some clear examples once I finish delivering the content. But at the end, I think it's really just try something with like $10, monitor the numbers. I even gave like a calculator that you can monitor those things. And then after a few months, then you'll see the power of it. Because again, as this is going into a bear market, if you create a liquidity pool like this and you have a chart like this, okay, yeah, you create it here and it's like, oh, I'm getting impermanent loss now, but it's the top of the bull market and it dumps and it comes back to around about where your liquidity pool was. This whole time you're getting yield. So you'll end up having more tokens. So it's more for there's so many different ways to think about it. So if you're a long-term thinker and you want to be here forever, then you'd be crazy not to liquidity provide. But if you're just saying, I want to just hold the tokens and sell at the top, then you need to find these kinds of ratios where it's so tight and you're just getting a little bit of yield. I hope that's clearer now. Sorry, Steve, I didn't mean to. It's because I feel like I'm all alone in this, man. Like, it's like I try to stay calm, but I've got this self-righteousness. I've still got this self-righteousness that I want to be right as well. That's the problem. So you'll have to forgive me. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I really, really do. I would win so hard if I'm wrong. Richard will keep everyone in the ecosystem if we all don't have to dump for DAI, hence PDAI. Keeps his community safe and not leaving to other places. Keeps prices up. He can gloat. Yeah, I can see that kind of scenario. The macro doing great. What a roller coaster it's been for Tina. Yes, the macro is doing very, very well. It's really looking beautiful. So get some rest. Everything is energy. There's a free boxing session for you to reclaim young Steven off me in the future. Yes. Hey, man, I love boxing. That's the only martial arts I've ever done. And I've met probably one of my closest friends in Brisbane going to UBX, and I love boxing. I really, really love it. So I only did it for a few weeks, but I really, really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the challenge, and I'm a southpaw as well. So, you better watch out, cuzzy. May the universe continue to bless you, brother. Oh, man, may the universe continue to bless us all. So the bottom line with LP is you win in every scenario unless one asset goes up and the other stays the same or goes down. And ever then the rewards may offset that impermanent loss. That's partially true. So it can also occur with like a stable pool as well. So if you have a volatile asset that's moving up in a stable pool, unless there's enough liquidity, that's enough volume that's flowing through that, then you won't necessarily come out with a higher dollar value at the end if you just held the volatile asset and sold at the top. What's up, Hexologist Heart? Could you do a 20K portfolio and show the gains, how much you would actually make over a period of a month? It's not that easy, Robert. That's the problem. It's determined on so many factors, but what I would recommend, you can at least get an idea of it. So if you go to, I think it was literally the next episode. So after the impermanent gains episode, there was a how to calculate your yield episode. If you go to that episode, there's even a spreadsheet there that I've put in there with the help of Pulse TV, and I've adjusted it and added some things in there. You'll be able to estimate based on the numbers, and I show you which numbers to put in there and how to do it. But it's not that easy, man, because the volume fluctuates. Your percentage of your ownership will go up and down based on if other people put liquidity in there or take it out. And then the volume is the same. Depends on how many people are buying and selling that asset. So you can make estimates, but it's not as cut and dry as just putting the values in and getting an exact answer. But that spreadsheet, I feel, is really, really good to at least give you an estimate of numbers that you could look at for yourself. Food day. Break it easy, Steve-O. Start with broth. I've really got to get into the broth. I hear that a lot with fasting. I think I'm going to have to look into some broth for tomorrow. But I always have for breakfast my eggs. It's this product called Self-Balancing Food that my meditation makes. It's like incredible. It's one of the most incredible. It's organic, handmade. And one of the bags is like an alkaline and the other one is acidic. And it's like grains and vegetables. And each selection of grains and each selection of vegetables have been selected to target every single major organ and minor organ. So I think there's 6 minor organs and 5 major organs. So all the vegetables and the grains have been selected based on providing nutrients to those organs. So you have this for 3 months, you'll see the shit that comes out of you. You'll be farting and your body's so intoxicated. All your organs are intoxicated. And this stuff is just the best. I have that for breakfast with a banana and some eggs. So I'll be doing that. So yeah, I'll have to DM you on that one, Steve. I'll have to DM you. If you look up New Universe Foods, I think it is. That's the New Universe Foods. Otherwise, I'll get the name for you. Yeah, if you just Google New Universe Food, you'll find it there. So yeah, that's and the black turmeric. Black turmeric is one of the best anti-inflammation products on the planet. But we're not even allowed to say how good it is because of the pharmaceutical industry in America, because it's not verified by the FDA, and obviously it's a natural product. We're not even allowed to talk about the benefits of how good it is. It's absurd. It's really absurd the way that the corporations have just, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. 400 people. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. I apologize for the intensity of my words tonight, and if I offended anyone, I really do apologize. It's not my intention. There is a lot of energy flowing through me. I was really shattered before I started this, and now all of a sudden I'm like on another level. And again, I'm not going to be able to sleep till probably 1 or 2 o'clock now because I'm too excited. So anyway, thank you very much, everybody. Take care. Have a good night. Have a good day.